the Winter Olympics of Discontent. Yes, this is Mark and Pete, two blokes with half an opinion. Now, here's our first thought.
Thrills and chills. The Winter Olympics bring skating rings, which gives all the skiers a thrill. But perhaps it's time to achieve harder things, like going backwards and uphill. Yes, it would make it far more exciting, I'm sure it would do, but there is a serious side to this. Well, the Winter Olympics, this is the Games that's taking in Milano Cortina 2026. It is, without any doubt, I think, one of the most exciting sporting events on the calendar. But there is a sinister side to this. Yes, why that is, and that's the future of the Olympics itself from a winter perspective. There are rising temperatures that have led to insufficient snow levels, with more snow sport competitions cancelled year on year. This has meant that obviously people are cancelling their holidays, they're cancelling the event, and this is a concern for the International Olympic Committee. Mr. Pete, I ask you, can you tell me, is this something that is a concern because of the climate change that we've seen and the mass amount of information that's come from scientists, politicians, and many others? Or are we just seeing that really the games are on a slippery slope?
Yeah, it's nicely put. Well, the lack of interest in the Olympics, as well as the Winter Olympics, the whole concept of it. I see seen this happening over the past few Olympics. It used to be a big event, no longer. I think it's no longer as big as it was. Let's put it like that. I mean, until some time after it had started, the Winter Olympics, I didn't even know it was on. So someone mentioned it to me. Oh, is that on? And it was because of someone mentioning it to me. And I didn't see it in the media at all. And I think it's not. This is my point I'm going to make. I don't think it's. I think the climate change is an excuse. Yeah, you could have lack of snow if you have warmer weather. Sure, of course that's true, but we know that there are ways to counteract that because there's always been times when you have lack of snow in the winter and you can produce artificial snow. The problem is not that. The problem is that people are losing interest, and here's why. This is the definitive Pete theory as to why that's happening. I think it's like it's similar to the idea of wokeness. It's all the political shenanigans and ideas which make it distasteful. People are so divided against each other. Their politics takes over. It's in Olympics. You have Black Lives Matter and other demonstrations taking it over. Then on top of that, you have people cheating with using drugs. In the end, you think, I can't be bothered to watch that. I'd rather watch something else. If I want to watch sport, I'll watch a sport that I know I like and that I know they're actually competing properly. And I'm not going to have politics shoved down my throat, whatever that sport might be. So I think it's a combination of those things, not the weather. That's the Pete theory.
Well, indeed. Well, here's the Mark theory, because I think that the Winter Olympics is a great complement to sporting activities such as new events. We've seen things like, the new debut of ski mountaineering. We've seen obviously the skateboarding, the tremendous athletics that typically tends to happen in this, the gymnastics that take place on ice is quite extraordinary. Anyone who's watched this would recognize the artistry behind it, but also the physical endeavors. I will say, do not try it at home, folks, because it looks very dangerous. But the fact of the matter is, they've tried to invigorate it. They've brought in new sports. So, from that perspective, I would say that's a good thing. And I know that it's not just about the Olympic Games, they've also brought in World Championships and many other seasonal events that use the principle of ice, so the winter side of it. And I think in many ways that's encouraging because it brings in a fresh sort of perspective. And there are a lot of people who are very much interested in that. And I certainly, for one, am very excited to see it. I do agree that sometimes these type of events get hijacked. They get hijacked by politics and many other things. On the climate side, I still have a concern over this. I'm not entirely sure that necessarily there is as big a concern as they're saying. I think that it's this is not new. If you actually go back through decades of Winter Olympics gone by, this has always been a problem for the Winter Olympics. Does the venue and do the events have enough ice, particularly the open air events? Of course, anything that's indoor you can control. Whether it's ice hockey or if it's curling or anything like that. And so for me, I think there's enough variety in the sport. But where I think it's gone wrong is they just haven't promoted it. To your point, you didn't know it was on. I had to sort of bring
True.
it to your attention. I have been watching it, and I will say that I admire what the athletes are doing and the sporting endeavours and the competition. It's very intense. It's very fast, and in many ways, I think in some ways, it offers a little bit more than the normal traditional athletics that you would see at Summer Olympics. I like the fact that they've got it on the calendar, but I think that maybe they've gone wrong a little bit in their marketing. I think there's enough in there for people to gain something from. There's enough variety. But here's the thing then. Do you think that sort of when they're selecting this particular event, they start to look at future um, Olympics, Winter Olympics, that is it that maybe they should have more events on the calendar to try and encourage people? But I think it's the TV, isn't it? That if you don't have that media slot, then it's always going to be a problem, isn't it? And let's be honest, you can't have winter throughout the entire season, whereas you can have athletics pretty much any
Yes,
time.
yes. Yes, well, I think the only you've got to have a real campaign to win people back to the Olympics, including the Winter Olympics. Yes, I like the Winter Olympics. There's some incredible physical feats. A big fan of the skiing slalom, which is just amazing that they managed to be going at such a pace and making turns going downhill. So yeah, there's some great events there. I'm not certainly not against it being successful. I would like it to be successful. I didn't know it was on, but then started to watch it once it had been on. So once I realized it was on, so it's not that. I believe people have lost interest for the reasons that I said, and people need to be won back. And you can only do that through a successful PR campaign, which includes new media, getting people on board with it. What I think, this is a serious point, listeners. I think really they should consider sponsoring the Mark and Pete show in order to get the word out there. But
Yes.
or some other lesser podcasts like Joe Rogan's.
Another chilling
You need,
clause.
yeah, they need to. They need to have a proper campaign in order to get not just get news out that it's on, get people back interested in watching it. There's so much to say in its favor. I mean, people love watching dangerous events. Why not this?
Yes.
So it's and the tremendous skill and the strength and the beautiful women in tight costume. What is there not to love about the Winter Olympics?
Well, I
But
mean, coming back
if
to your point.
sorry, yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Well, I was going to say, look, what I think is unusual in this particular case, and this is where I think it has got something which is slightly different, is the artistry. So if you take something like figure skating, which does have technical elements to it, but let's be honest, it is also an interpretation of music and
yeah,
so on. So I think
sure,
that
yeah,
offers something different. And then you've got something like bobsleigh, which is a completely different thing altogether, a team sport where
mhm,
essentially you're taking a craft down a slope, trying to win, obviously the fastest time, and
yeah,
it is
yeah,
is very dangerous, believe me. And then you get to on the other side of it, you've then got the snowboarding, which in itself, as I've said before, is an incredible sort of athletic event in itself. And to me, I think that the fact that the Winter Olympics has such a variety is surprising that the viewing figures are not as high or the following. But I come back to the point here is that they are limited by season, and that's always going to be a challenge.
yes,
But I do think that what they need is they definitely need something else to try and maybe bring it together in a way that builds up the momentum. I don't think they do enough to promote it. I do agree with that. And here's the other thing: I can't name the names of the athletes.
No,
And I
that's
think
right.
that one of the things that you typically find in other sports, other athletic sports, is you can typically tend to sort of name some of the Olympic winners and you
Yeah.
follow them. So it's a bit like other sports, whether you have tennis, etc., that you get to know the characters. I think that this is where the sponsorship comes in. So I think that the sport is in a good place in terms of its format. I think it's the marketing exercise that's key.
Yes, I mean, I'm agreeing with you that, it's not really climate change that's the problem.
I would sort of guide the president of the IOC and said, look, this is your opportunity. As you say, come onto the Mark and Pete show. This will certainly raise your profile. If not, the only other thing to consider is putting the whole event on ice.